Ba-dum, bum, ba-dum, bum, bum.
Oh,
Let me make
I
sure
wonder
it
if
is
Kramer's
working.
okay.
No, probably not. He's probably dead. And we're live.
Oh shit.
Oh shit. Go retweet the tweet I put out. I tagged you.
Let me find it.
Because you actually have followers. I don't like the fact that I wanted to start Carson Wentz, but Alshon and Aguilar are out.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know what to do now. Do I not start Wentz? Do I pick up Winston?
Mm. Oh, dude, I would start Winston over Wentz,
But I
like
can't
100%.
actually drop anybody. Because guess what? My entire bench is Keenan Allen, Melvin Gordon, Austin Eckler, Adam Thielen, James Conner.
I think it's bench. I think it's drop Wentz season. Is it redraft?
Yeah.
Oh, dude.
Dude,
Just
look at
bite
Wentz's
the bullet.
schedule. Miami, the Giants, Washington.
Oh, that is.
I can't drop him.
Yeah, that's appetizing.
Okay. Well, there you go. We're already talking football.
Welcome to Talking Football.
Welcome to Talking Football with your host, AJ, Matt, a dead Kramer,
The ghost of Kramer and the
ghost
drunk
of-
Tony.
and a drunk Tony. Let's start it. The first
Alright.
person on this list, I thought I would never, ever see fantasy relevant in my entire life. And that's Bo Scarborough, the
Oh,
fullback
Jesus.
out of
Jesus.
Alabama. Are you playing him this week? We actually have a lot
I
of...
just,
No, go
I
ahead.
mean, I would just like to first acknowledge that this is like this is really the beginning of fantasy football season. When you're talking about that running back that you just never thought would make the roster cut, and now he's like up for like starter consideration, and Bo Scarborough. No, I don't. I have him in a couple leagues just because I could use that. I mean, he had some decent opportunity last week, but he just seems very touchdown dependent to me, and it just and probably what's going to happen is like Ty Johnson will get like 20 carries this week and like go off for 20 points, and it's just going to be like the New England backfield where you just like can't call it and want to stay away from, except like there's no appetizing pieces truly to begin with.
Yeah, I don't know what to say. Like, he's got a good matchup, I guess. Detroit's been horrible at running the ball. But then I honestly think Jeff Driscoll at quarterback's a better option than Bo Scarborough at running back, if that makes sense, for the Lions.
Okay, I was like wasn't sure where you're going with that, but I'm with that.
So, I'm actually, like, I was not on his hype train. I was on if you had to start someone out of nowhere, I was much rather start Jonathan Williams, which already, I think, paid off. If you got 19 points out of Williams in most
Yeah,
leagues, you would be
very
very
fortunate
happy.
for that.
So, if you have to start him, I wouldn't like punch yourself, but I'd actually rather start the guy playing against him in Darius Geis. Now that might be a hot take because he is splitting time with Adrian Peterson. I think Chris Thompson might be healthy this game. Not positive.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he is.
But
I've seen a lot of noise with Darius Geis as far as like like temper your expectations. Like he's splitting carries with Peterson, and now Thompson's healthy. Like avoid this, but like I have trouble avoiding it. I'm with you. Like I think Geis is like especially in DFS, like a sharp play just because like all of the blurbs about him are like negative, and he scored last week. It was his first week back. Why would they? I mean, like his volume at worst, I think, will be the same as it was last week, which wasn't great. But the Lions, I mean, they're not gonna. I don't think they're gonna run away with this game. So I think there's a lot of paths for Geist to be a nice play this week.
well, and here's the thing: So he had 7 carries for 24 yards. Not ideal, right? That's what,
No.
3.5. But I think 4 of his 7 carries were actually on the goal line or 3rd and 1, where he was trying to get 1 yard. If you take those out, the carries he was having on 1st and 2nd down, he got 6, 7 yards, 6, 7 yards, 6, 7 yards. I mean, that's how he ended up with the 24 yards in the first place. And
Yeah,
then
and
the one reception, he looked great. Obviously, he scored a touchdown, 45-yard. But that's why we liked him so much the past 2 preseasons. It's because he looks so explosive in open field. And
yeah,
Detroit's not good
those are
at
those are
tackling.
2 really good things that you want to see. Like design pass plays for him to like break off a run and goal line carries. Like
Exactly.
those are recipes for points.
Yeah, if Geis was able to get into that end zone, those 2 goal line carries, I think everyone's playing him this week, despite the small usage, because his stat line would have looked so good. It would have been, if he gets on the first carry, it'd be 6 for 25, a touchdown, 2 for 1, 45-yard touchdown. And the other thing is, they're playing Dwayne Haskins. Why are you playing Adrian Peterson? If you've already given up trying to win the game by starting Haskins, why not just? I think I made this point last week. Why would they not just see what they have in Geis? I understand it's injury prone, but see what you have.
I agree.
So I'm taking a shot on Geis this week over Scarborough.
Yeah, I like it.
Moving on to taking a shot at wide receiver, we got our little singer from Clemson, Hunter Renfrow, the 45-year-old man himself that somehow found himself into a college, found himself into an Oakland Raider training camp, and now he looks really, really freaking good.
Yeah, it's he kind of fits Carr's play style. I know our thing or your thing that we would like to bring up is that Carr is an accurate deep passer, but it's definitely not his preferred game.
No.
And Renfrow fits his preferred way to move the ball really well. And the Raiders have just started. I mean, it's a shame I haven't been on here the past few weeks. I've been busy with school and shit, but dude, the Raiders have a really competent offense, and they're pieced together really well, and it's gelling to the point where Renfrow is finally that nice low ceiling, pretty decent floor option, especially in the game against the Jets today, which was my game of the week to highlight. So yeah, I like Renfrow in about any way that you can play fantasy football today.
Yeah, if you look at his targets the past four games, 4, 7, 5, 6, he's gained enough volume where you should feel comfortable playing him, because while he is getting kind of the short intermediate passes, he is getting targeted, down the field. He has, it's weird, he's not explosive. And it's not just because, I've heard people say this about Adam Thielen, always bugged me, because Adam Thielen has a better 40 than 80% of wide receivers, but they're like, well, he's not going to beat you with speed. It's like, no, he will. He's just white. But Hunter Renfrow legitimately is not that athletic, but he's great. He's just a very smart football player, and
really crafty.
a coach's son.
Gym rat.
Blue, was it lunchbox pail kind of? I don't know what that one is.
Yeah, brings his lunch pail into work every day.
Yeah, something like that. But I actually think I've been right on more of my preseason takes I have been during the season. And if you remember, I said if AB stayed on the Raiders and everything, he would be great. And I just thought that whole Raider offense is going to be great with Gruden, and how people were giving Gruden way too much shit.
Oh my gosh, man. It would be so cool to see.
Well, what I'm hoping for in our Dynasty League is the Raiders with that first overall pick selecting CeeDee Lamb or some other stud wide receiver. Because I think if Gruden and Carr have a number 1 wide receiver next year, that guy's going to be top 5 in fantasy, whoever it is. I don't think Tyrell Williams is quite talented enough to do it. I think Hunter Renfrow is going to be a great slot option his entire career there. But if they just had one of those stud wide receivers, he would be so great for fantasy. But we'll see.
I know.
Anyway, you can start Renfrow this week. It still feels like a weird option, but you should feel confident. And
it's kind of a decent pivot, I think. I don't know I don't know how highly
Ronald
owned he's going to
Jones,
be.
number 4. So this one makes me want to puke a little bit. Because didn't Bruce Arians come out and say he was a starter, and ever since he said that, he's gotten less snaps?
Yeah, I think. Well, the first game he had a 20-point game because he scored some touchdowns, but last week was just abysmal.
Yeah, 31% of the carries, or 31% of snaps, 4 carries, 13 yards, 2 receptions, a yard. Those are some Saquon Barkley numbers, right?
Oh my god.
So,
Oh my god. I don't even care. Don't even care. I'm already eliminated. It's just icing on the cake.
We got a question in the chat for start set. We'll address it in a couple seconds. But first, would you start Ronald Jones this week? I guess obviously it always matters who you have.
Yeah.
But
I think so as far as like DraftKings go, I think he's like an okay play because the running back plays on DraftKings this week are like kind of odd, and I don't really feel stellar about more than like 2 of them. And Ronald Jones is 4,800 against the Atlanta defense, which I still don't think is legit. I just think it's kind of a mirage what we've seen. And I don't think that people are going to feel comfortable playing Ronald Jones considering how hot the Falcons defense is and how bad of a week Ronald Jones just had. But I think that the Bucs are going to move the ball just fine. And I think there's going to be goal line opportunities for Jones. It's just a matter of if Jones gets them or not. Because we saw Barber Fulcher a touchdown last week, I believe. But I think that you can go to the Ronald Jones well in like tournaments and DraftKings, but I would highly, highly, highly suggest to find another option in season long. But if you can't, Godspeed.
yeah, I'm about the same. I don't think Atlanta's defense is for real. I do think they are going to be better against the run, and that's partly why I'm worried about Ronald Jones. I think Winston's still going to be able to quote-unquote tear him up where he throws for 400 yards, 4 TDs, but also 4 interceptions. But that's against every defense.
Right.
But I do think they're going to have trouble running the ball. And then it's weird. It just comes down to whoever Bruce Arians wants to put in there for the goal line back.
Yeah, we don't know what he's going to think.
Exactly. And I can't take that Arizona 20-point game seriously because of the 8 catches that he will never do again. If you look at the Seattle game where he got 17 points, that was a great game. That's what you can hope for in this Atlanta game, but I don't know if you're going to get it. So I think actually Sleeper has it right on. Ronald Jones is an RB3-4 borderline. Like, if you have to play him, you can. It's not like I have no confidence in him, but... All right, so we have a question from YouTube about tight ends, our favorite question. Dawson Knox.
I love tight ends.
Dawson Knox, Mike Gesicki, or Jonnu Smith with Delaney Walker is now doubtful. 100% Jonnu Smith. That's not even a question for me.
I think it depends on what if it's just straight up, yeah, I like Jonnu Smith out of all of those guys, but I think every one of those guys has a decent matchup. I think that Dawson Knox on DraftKings is a really, really smart pivot. He's 3,000 on DraftKings for tight ends, which is the lowest among like any playable tight end, and you can really get creative with your lineups if you do that. And he has seen an increase in usage. We had Tyler Kroft come back, and he kind of faded away a little bit. Dawson Knox did, but then while Kroft was still healthy, they decided to give Knox some more snaps, and he scored a touchdown the week after they said that. So he's trending in the right direction. I like Dawson Knox, but if you have those options in season long, I would take Jonnu over him. I like Tannehill, and I like the matchup this week for Jonnu. But DraftKings good play is Knox.
Yeah, and he also specified PPR, which I think makes me want to go to Jonnu even more.
Yeah, I really like Tannehill and Jonnu.
Well, there you go. Jonnu Smith is a good tight end. I'm excited. I have him in Dynasty. I'm excited for when Delaney Walker finally gets the hell out of there. And he's just the number one.
He's a freak.
All right. So, games of the week. We have Kramer with Philadelphia and Seattle, and we'll just sit here in silence as like a moment of silence of remembrance of Kramer.
Let's talk about this though. Here are the Eagles starting wide receivers today.
Oh no, don't please.
From Adam Schefter. JJ Arthega-Whiteside,
Arthega.
Greg Ward, who even in the DraftKings player pool,
Okay.
Mac Hollins,
A stud.
who has been MIA since he caught a touchdown in like week 2, and Jordan Matthews, who is unfortunately on like a lifetime contract with the Eagles. They can just pull him onto their roster whenever they fucking feel like it. Oh my God! All I can say is Dallas Goedert.
I was gonna say the starting wide receivers are Dallas Goedert, Zach Ertz, and Miles Sanders this week.
And Miles Sanders.
Miles Sanders is gonna be lined up in the slot more often than any of these guys. So, yeah. Oh my God, it's Seattle. They're not that good of a defense, and Jadeveon Clowney's out, but it's just like, who do you play in this game? I mean, I'm still playing Wentz. I'm still gonna do it.
You're crazy.
Well, the thing for me personally, I can't pivot away from him without dropping him, and I'm not gonna drop Wentz with the schedule he has coming up of Miami, the Giants, and Washington heading into the playoffs.
Yeah, I can respect that. But if I had other options that, like for example in DraftKings, I would not go Wentz. I would go even like I would pay below. I would definitely pay cheaper than Wentz.
Oh yeah,
and then Wentz is already pretty cheap.
No, I agree with that. Russell Wilson, you're obviously playing. Yeah. I'm just trying to go through it because Kramer's not here. Chris Carson obviously playing. Rashad Penny, do not touch with the 10-foot pole. What a waste of a first-round pick that was. What's your excitement level for Jordan Howard and Miles Sanders this game? I think they're going to...
Well, is Jordan Howard healthy? Is he active?
No, he's doubtful. I lied. What's your excitement level for Miles Sanders this game? Let me rephrase that.
I mean, I'm kind of excited about Miles Sanders. The thing that I worry about Miles Sanders as far as the DraftKings perspective is I think Miles Sanders is going to be pretty heavily owned. He really stands out as you're looking for value running back plays. He has a pretty good matchup against a shitty Seattle defense, especially now that Jadeveon Clowney's been labeled inactive. I think he's going to be pretty heavily owned, but I like him against the Seattle defense, and I like him as a play in season long too.
Yeah. No, I'm playing him in a couple leagues, and if he was able to get 7.7 against New England, and he's basically in the same scenario this week against the Seattle defense, I think you can triple those points. That's how I see it. If he gets the same opportunity, he might get 21 points instead of 7. So, and
maybe I'm overestimating the DraftKings player pool, but I really think that he's going to be pretty highly owned. But
I can see it.
He's worth eating the chalk for, in my opinion.
Exactly. It's one of those weeks where I think Tony and I a while back when Wayne Gallman got the start, we're like, well, he's going to be so chalked, we don't want to play him, but it was one of those players where you kind of have to if you want a chance for that week.
Yeah.
Wide receivers, you're not touching any of the Eagles ones. That's for sure. Are you playing? You're playing Tyler Lockett. You're probably playing DK Metcalf. Are you playing Josh Gordon though?
No. I mean,
no.
No. He's really cheap on DraftKings, but like I'm not taking a chance on him. This could be the week that he scores a touchdown. But I'm gonna miss it if he does, man.
I keep replaying in my head. I just see Russell Wilson, rolling out of the pocket, looking around, making a guy miss, and just throwing it deep to Josh Gordon, catching it over like 7 people in the end zone for a touchdown.
I know. Can't you picture it?
It's so easy to picture. But no, I'm not. I'm also not playing him because DK Metcalf's there, and he's literally just playing the Josh Gordon role for that team. So
yeah,
I think that eliminates a lot of the opportunity we saw in New England. Tight end wise, Zach Ertz, Dallas Goedert, I think you start them both. I think they're both top 5 tight ends this week with what's going on in the wide receiving core there.
Yeah.
You playing Hollister and Jacob?
Yeah, definitely. I think you can play anybody that's lined up. You play me if I'm labeled as a Seahawks tight end and I'm starting. Like you just especially against the Eagles defense, which has been a little bit better over the last couple of weeks, but dude, they still are. They're weak against the pass. That's definitely their weakest point. Um, and Hollister got like 10 targets last week. Like all that considered, like yeah, I like Hollister, which is so strange to say.
Excuse me. All right, AJ, go ahead. Take on your Jets and Oakland game of the week.
All right, man. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about my favorite player in this matchup, and it's Josh Jacobs. I mean, you can make a case for Jameson Crowder, and I love Jameson Crowder, and I'll get to him. But Josh Jacobs has just been so consistent for the Raiders and for fantasy owners. It's been quite the joy to own him, and I think that the Jets defense isn't that great, and I think that the Raiders have a chance to get ahead and stay ahead and use Jacobs in a way that they can burn some clock. I think he'll have some goal line opportunities as well, and but the thing is I do kind of worry about Waller from the Raiders side. He's someone that hasn't really had those gigantic games that he had earlier in the season. And with Jamal Adams out there at safety, I do kind of worry that Waller's ceiling will be capped once again. But I do like Tyrell Williams. And like we said, I like Hunter Renfrow too. I think this has sneaky shootout potential. But I think that both of these defenses, I do kind of want to – I'm trying to be cautious because I think that I and the public is kind of underrating both of these defenses. And when you look at the Oakland side too, I think that it looks really juicy for the Jets, but the Jets can easily be incompetent with like the snap of a finger. And like I said, I think this Oakland defense is a little bit better than we are all giving them credit for. And I'm not saying they're good, but I don't think that they're bottom.
I'm playing them in a couple leagues.
Yeah, I mean, you just roll the dice. But Crowder for the Jets. Crowder is on an incredible tear the last 3 weeks, 22, 19, and 18. A touchdown in all three of those contests. It's very, very likely that he can do that against Oakland today at home. Pretty decent matchup there. I think Le'Veon Bell has potential for a really nice game. It's been kind of an up and down season for him, so I'd really like to see Bell have a nice game here. And I'm playing Ryan Griffin because I've got Evan Ingram hurt, and he's my best option. And he's been pretty decent the last. He didn't do anything against the Giants, but save for that game at Jacksonville, at Miami, at Washington, 3 touchdowns combined in those games. So I like Griffin if you have a desperation play that you need to throw in at tight end. But Robbie Anderson, man, I don't know. I guess if you really want to, you can play him, but avoid it if you can.
I don't know what happened to him. He used to be always open.
7-Eleven. But I love that. But in the quarterbacks, of course, I think Carr. Carr doesn't really have that ceiling that other quarterbacks have, but he's definitely going to give you 15 points for sure. And Sam Darnold has pretty big potential too because he's been using his legs a lot more lately.
Yeah, I think that's a good summary. I have been making basically Josh Jacobs my DraftKings start of the week for the past entire season.
Yeah.
So I've definitely been on that train, and it's paid off pretty much every week. Last week wasn't ideal against Cincinnati, but we saw a snap count finally start to go in the 60s. So hopefully that continues. Yeah. So I took Tampa Bay and Atlanta, and honestly, my gut is a little worried about this, that it's going to disappoint. But that doesn't mean you still can't play these guys. I'm not playing Brian Hill whatsoever. The Buccaneers are so good against the run.
Yeah.
They're the only team that stopped Christian McCaffrey. Christian McCaffrey last week, his team scored 3 points and he scored 32 for fantasy. And he couldn't even put up 10 against the Buccaneers. So I have no faith that Brian Hill's going to put up more than a couple points. If anything, Quadre Ollison's going to freaking run in a touchdown again and screw everybody over.
It's ugly. It's an ugly, ugly situation to try to predict.
On the other side, I mean, again, personally, I'm not starting Ronald Jones. or Payne Barber. I honestly, if it was Ronald Jones versus Brian Hill, I would start Ronald Jones and hope. I think there's a better chance of a touchdown. I think he ends up having a better game than Hill anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Winston versus Matt Ryan. I actually think Matt Ryan's gonna outscore him in this game, but I think both of them are gonna be great options. They're both gonna throw the ball a lot. Moving on to the wide receivers, Evans, Godwin, Julio, you're playing, so there's no point in talking about them. Calvin Ridley, you're playing. If he's on your team, there's highly doubt you have anybody to put up above him, and I would say he's probably a top 12 wide receiver this week. Pretty locked in.
I really like his upside.
So, moving on to tight ends, and Grant, or what's his name again? Jaden Graham, I think, is a sneaky play this week. I'll admit.
Oh, jeez.
He had 50% of the snaps last week. He got 2 catches. Tampa Bay isn't good at defending. I'm just saying for those guys who can't start anybody, basically, and you're like, all right, who's left? Maybe Graham. But actually, the more I think of it, due to Delaney Walker being out, so Jonnu Smith's available. You also have Griffin from the Jets. There's just so many options that you probably aren't going to go with him. Mm-hmm. And the one thing that does worry me is Luke Stalker actually had more snaps than Graham. So, not playing Cameron Brate or O.J. Howard, I think that's a trap. I think O.J. Howard gets right back on the field this week, so don't look into Cameron Brate's, 25 targets last week? 14 targets? Jesus. That's more than he's had the whole season. Anyway, play the Falcons defense. Because Winston's going to get sacked, Winston's going to throw interceptions. They can give up 40 points, and the Falcons can still score 20 on their defense. And that's it. That's my wrap-up. I say this.
I love this game. It's such obvious shootout potential, and like you're always like, oh, of course this will probably be the game where it looks like a shootout and it won't be. But I don't think that this has there's any way that this isn't a shootout.
But even if it's not a shootout in terms of points, everyone's getting fantasy points. There's still going to be 500 yards of offense in this game. Everybody's going to be getting points. The defenses are going to be getting points. There's really nowhere to go wrong here except for the running backs, in my opinion, because it's just going to be so spread out and so thin. And if I think that, you imagine there's going to be a lot of points scored because there's going to be a lot of passing, which we know statistically just means more points because it's better analytically. Anyway. That's it. We're moving on to who has a better week. This is the first time AJ's playing in years. Kramer and I both went 0-4 for the first time. We've had 0-4 for anybody.
Wow.
It was a weird week. I think we both kind of took a little hot take-ish, and it backfired on every single one. To be fair, if you told me Christian McCaffrey was going to be the RB1 with his team scoring 3 points, I wouldn't believe it and still wouldn't take it. I could look at that right now and I still don't believe it. I'm shocked every time.
Yeah, that's just the level he's on this season. It's insane.
Yeah. Again, interesting point. I personally believe this, and maybe I'm just telling myself this because I don't have him, but I think it'd be crazy to say Christian McCaffrey's not a great dynasty asset. But with his usage, I think there's a very real chance he's out of the league in 2 years. Just because of how beat up he gets.
Yeah, it's scary.
Adrian Peterson didn't get this kind of usage. And Adrian Peterson is probably one of the toughest human beings on the planet. But I don't know. We'll see.
I worry about him for sure.
Also, if Cam Newton comes back, which he's going to come back because Kyle Allen's now finally showing that he's Kyle Allen, Christian McCaffrey goes back from being the absolute clear number one every single week to, he's top 5. He's still great, but he's not going to be what he has been once Cam goes back.
Yeah, and it's also kind of weird. I don't like the matchup for him today either.
Oh, today specifically, really?
No, for McCaffrey.
I never not liked the matchup with McCaffrey. I'm not gonna lie.
I know it's hard to I know, right? Because McCaffrey is a god, but I think that Kyle Allen stinks, and I think the Saints defense is good. And they're at New Orleans. I don't. At least for McCaffrey's price, this is definitely like the lowest owned he's going to be in like a while.
That's
in
great.
DraftKings.
I'm gonna grab him. My thing with DraftKings is the fact that it's the PPR, and as you saw last week, he had 14 targets. If this turns into New Orleans getting ahead, he's gonna have 14 targets. If New Orleans isn't ahead, he's gonna get 40 carries. Like, either way, McCaffrey's getting so much usage that I'm fine. There's not a world where he's not getting so much that he's going to at least be okay in your lineup. And, I mean, 30 points, 25, 40 points, 30 points, 20 points, 50 points, 30 points, 30 points. Then the Tampa Bay game, 45 points. Like, it's insane. There's nothing. He's game proof. He's defense proof. Like, I just can't see it. Unless there's another hurricane and a power outage again, like we saw in that Thursday night Tampa Bay game. I don't think anyone's stopping him.
Mm-hmm.
It may still not like be worth it for 10,000, but it's almost like, why not? Like, I might get 40 points. I'll probably guarantee 25.
You can definitely make lineups that fit him in. It's just that I think if you make a Christian McCaffrey lineup in DraftKings, you're kind of pigeonholing yourself to say, okay, well, now I have to take Devontae Parker because he's 5,200, and I think that that's going to be a really popular play. Tight end, you can make a pivot to somebody who might not be high on. Like I said, I like Dawson Knox a lot. And then you're probably pigeonholing yourself to play Bengals defense, which I think a lot of people are going to play. So I just worry about how creative you can get with Christian McCaffrey in your lineup while still, differentiating yourself to be a winner. But I don't know. That's just the way I've probably spent too much time looking at it.
Well, I've played him the past. I've basically, him and Josh Jacobs have been my running backs for 3 straight weeks, and I've been in the green for 3 straight weeks. So it's kind of hard. It's probably a little bit of biases there, not wanting to go away from that formula, though they are both game pricier. So we'll see.
Yeah.
All right. So quarterbacks, who has the best week? Winston, Matt Ryan, Russell Wilson. AJ, the floor is yours.
I think I'm going to go with Matt Ryan.
Ooh.
I think Matt Ryan has the best week here. I think that Winston is going to be chucking the ball a ton. And I'd probably go Ryan, Winston, then Wilson. Just because I worry about the game flow being in Wilson's favor for him to go off because Pete Carroll's an idiot. But I think Matt Ryan is still, like, people kind of forget how good of a season that he was having before he got hurt and then had that not so great game. But I think Tampa sets up really well for him to just sling that shit and just have a really, really good game.
I think you're underestimating how good Philadelphia's run defense is. I think it's one of the best in the league. I think no matter how dumb Pete Carroll and that offensive coordinator are, they're not going to have a choice in this game and eventually pass the ball. And that's why I'm going Russell Wilson. Because as soon as they pass the ball, that's a 50-yard touchdown. There's no way Philadelphia's secondary can stop Russell Wilson. If I was his wide receiver, I'd be playing myself in fantasy. That's how confident I am in Philadelphia's secondary being trash. It's a weird scenario because it's like, it helps that their run defense is so good. It makes you so confident to play quarterbacks because the other team has to pass the ball. And then it's definitely going to be effective against that secondary. I thought I was making it too easy by putting Wilson in here. But I'm glad we went separate routes, so we'll see what happens.
I mean, yeah, I agree that the matchup is absolutely in his favor. It's just that I just think that Pete Carroll, you could tell Pete Carroll that, hey, you're going against the best run defense in the league, and conversely, their pass defense is really weak, and you have one of the best quarterbacks in the league. What are you going to do? And he said, we're going to give the ball to Chris Carson 25 times and just run it into a fucking brick wall just because that's what he wants to establish. Except
in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, right, except in the Super Bowl. But in the Eagles' defense, or the Eagles' offense is so bad that I could also see.
I think the Eagles are going to move the ball.
See this being a low-scoring game.
I really do. I think Tampa Bay, Atlanta, and Seattle, Philadelphia are going to be flipped. I think Tampa Bay Atlanta is going to be low scoring. Again, I think it's going to be perfectly fine for fantasy, but I think Seattle Philadelphia is going to be like 28-24, maybe even 31-28 type of game. I think the Eagles. I understand they don't have any wide receivers. I'm actually pretty confident in Wentz's ability to still move them down the field. I think he looked okay against New England with basically no wide receivers. Miles Sanders is going to have a field day, and then I think Seattle's going to be forced to throw. But we'll see. Moving on. Mike Evans, Julio, Michael Thomas. I was lazy. I just picked the best 3 wide receivers. Let's see who you think's going to have the best week.
Yeah, I mean you can't go wrong. But if I had to pick, I would definitely pick Michael Thomas here.
Yeah, I'm going Michael Thomas as well. I've been against him for so. You know what? Go Mike Evans. I'm making this interesting. I think when teams don't have a clear number 1 cornerback, Mike Evans just goes off almost every single time because he's such a good wide receiver. Even though Marshawn Lattimore wasn't active last week, he still got a ton of air yards in his 8 targets. The Arizona game was a little bit of a fluke, in my opinion. I don't know. I'm pretty confident Mike Evans has a great game. And Michael Thomas is like a surefire 20 to 30 points. So I'm just betting on the high of Mike Evans this game coming out.
Yeah, Mike Evans is up there with Michael Thomas as far as the year he's having. And Julio has kind of been up and down. But
he's up and down every year. Like, we shouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, but he was a little more consistent last year.
That's true.
But Michael Thomas, Michael Thomas has more receptions this year than any Eagles wide receiver does combined. Like, in PPR, Michael Thomas is the play every single week. And the Carolina defense, I don't think, can do anything to stop him.
All right, we do have a question from YouTube. We have Miles Sanders or Ronald Jones full PPR. I think we're both 100% on the Miles Sanders side.
Yeah, I like Miles Sanders there.
I like Miles Sanders as a running back 1 this week at it, and I like Ronald Jones as a running back maybe 3. So there's a big tier difference I have there. I'm very confident Miles Sanders will outscore him. It's not even one of those where it's like, oh, well, I think there's a better percent chance Miles Sanders has a bigger week. I think it's Miles Sanders' floor is about where Ronald Jones' ceiling is going to be for this week. So, moving on. Jalen Samuels, Kareem Hunt, or Miles Sanders. So, this is never thought these 3 running backs would be put up against each other. But Kareem Hunt against Miami, Jalen, they're playing Cincinnati, right?
Yeah. I mean, to me, man, I think it's pretty obviously Jalen Samuels.
Yeah, I may have made this a little too easy. I did make this before I realized that every single offensive weapon for the Steelers was out.
Yeah. Yeah, there's really no, like, it's really who else is there? But Mason Rudolph is so bad that, it's it's not like his ceiling is great. Like, if it's not PPR, you don't play him.
Oh, I'm playing him in a standard league. I have to. I don't have a choice because James Conner's out. I'm just hoping, praying to the gods that it's not 13 receptions for 10 yards again. Lastly, Kareem Hunt I think is going to have a good week. Miles Sanders a good week, but I think Jalen Samuels is way up there.
Let's replace Jalen Samuels with Patrick Laird.
Okay, then I'm going Miles Sanders.
What are your thoughts on Patrick M. Laird?
I just shout out to Sleeper for giving me the alert so I know who the hell he is. Really needed that.
Oh my god, dude! I love the meme of Patrick Laird. If you're not sure who he is, if you're wondering who the fuck Patrick Laird is, he was a running back who came in at garbage time for the Dolphins, amassed 6 receptions, and now he is blowing up as, hey, look out for Patrick Laird this week. He's got a nice matchup against the Browns in the underrated Miami offense. I mean, if he blows up, I I will cry myself with laughter.
To be fair, you can't be a worse running back than Kalen Balazs. So
Exactly, right? Like,
I don't see why not. Then lastly, we have Dallas Goedert, Jacob Hollister, or Ryan Griffin at tight end.
ooh, there we go. Now we're cooking with gas.
Yeah, it's Goedert for me. That's not really close. Due to I didn't think Alshon was actually going to be out this game, and he is.
Yeah, I think it can still be kind of close, just because Goddard. We'll see what kind of targets he gets with the fact that it's him, Ertz, and nobody else. I like Goddard. I'd probably go Goddard here too, so he's going to be my pick. But I like Ryan Griffin. I think he has a very nice floor, and I like Hollister too. Like I said earlier, I think that the matchup plays well for all these guys. So a lot of, in my opinion, nice cheap options at tight end this week.
All right, so hopefully we don't go 0-4 this week. We have some difference in opinions. It'd be pretty hard statistically.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to my favorite part of the show, where we just make money on live stream with DraftKings. We're gonna go ahead, do the main slate. We haven't talked about this whatsoever, so this will be a fun experiment. Where do you want to start, AJ?
You want to start at defense?
Yeah, let's start defense. And
I have like 3 favorite options this week for defense.
I haven't been looking at DraftKings too much this week. I really like the Lions. I like the Broncos. Those are the 2 that stand out to me for value. Yeah. What about you?
I think the Bengals are a really nice play. They're the second cheapest defense on the board. They're playing the Steelers, who had Mason Rudolph, a quarterback, and nobody else to help them out. I also like the Saints defense this week at home against Carolina. I think Kyle Allen sucks, and I think they have a lot of they probably have the highest ceiling. And I think Steelers as well at Cincinnati. I know they're 4,000, but I think that the Steelers are going to be pretty low owned after the last game that they just had. Mm-hmm. And I think that the Bengals stink, and I think the Steelers defense is still really, really good.
I like those options. Kind of like the Saints. I see this as a big week for their defense.
Mm-hmm.
This is hard. What do you think? Okay. What do you think of the Patriots?
I don't like it, man. I'm a big Dak Prescott guy, so I don't want to play against Dak Prescott, to be honest. I think it's a very slow paced game, and I think that I don't think your ceiling is very high with the Patriots, but if you want to make sure you don't get a 0, then maybe.
True. All right, let's throw the Saints in there, see what we can do. Or shall we move? You want to do quarterback next?
Yeah. Let's try to look at what kind of stacks we're gonna try to get. And I have 3 options for you here. As a chalk play, I think
I have one in mind, and I'm curious that if you have the same in mind.
I think Winston is a good play.
Mm-hmm.
I think Matt Ryan is a good play, and my pivot that I really like this week,
Nick Foles and DJ Chark.
I think Nick Foles is kind of sneaky. But it's Ryan Fitzpatrick. 5,000. He's hiding.
Where the hell is
likes
he?
Of Chase Daniel, Andy Dalton, Mitch Trubisky. Nobody is looking down here, and Ryan Fitzpatrick should be like 5,500. There's no way Mason Rudolph should be $500 more than Ryan Fitzpatrick.
No, that's ridiculous. Well, to be fair, I think that's because Mason Rudolph should be like 4,000, but
yeah, I think Fitzpatrick should be like 1,000 for him. So what I really like to do is I like Fitzpatrick, and then if we can just go right to a stack and take Devontae Parker, just stack them up. Parker has been a double-digit machine, and I like that having that connection here. And this kind of opens us up to take either Zach Ertz or Dallas Goedert, and for tight end, in my opinion. So let's if you like Parker and Fitzpatrick, I think
I
we
should.
should try to make that decision
I
next.
think Goddard outscores Ertz,
Okay.
and I think it's a no-brainer due to obviously the salary difference. I can't.
Okay.
It would have to be within 500 for me to even think about it. But even then, I think I would actually choose Goddard over Ertz. I just
Wow.
watching Wentz and his reads lately has made me very confident with Goddard.
So are we? Who's our defense again? Is it Saints? Did we decide?
Yes.
Okay. So we have quite a bit of money left here, decent amount. Um, we can. I think we can start to look at our first running back off the board,
Mm-hmm.
and since we're taking the Saints defense, I don't think that McCaffrey would be a very smart play here, but I really like Kamara. What do
Yeah.
you think?
Kamara hasn't been good, but it would be a good time to pick him. I mean, 22 points last week isn't bad.
Right, and Carolina is statistically one of the worst run defenses. In the
Yeah,
league.
no, exactly, and they're great against the pass. So I'll
Yeah.
go. I'm okay with Kamara. Yeah.
Because since we're kind of going real cheap with Fitzpatrick, I think that we can take one of those top guys, and then we can kind of decide, from here where we want to do. So,
All right. You want to hear a guy that I don't think anyone is mentioning?
Of course.
It's hard because Miles Sanders is right there, and I really do like Miles Sanders this week. But
Yeah,
Philip,
I think he's going to be a popular play.
Philip Lindsay against Buffalo.
Okay. Let's
Buffalo's
look at it.
defense hasn't been good. Lindsay, he got a lot of attempts against the Vikings. They're pretty decent run defense, but his yards per carry has been great this
I
season.
love Philip Lindsay, dude.
I don't. I think Royce Freeman's a better running back, but for fantasy purposes, I'd 100%, choose Lindsay this week over him.
I think that's a pretty decent play. I think Lindsay is like legit going to be like 2% owned.
Yeah, no, 100%.
So
All right, let's go with him.
let's plug him in.
And he definitely can break off, 50-yard run for a touchdown and just instantly be worth the 5,200 no matter what he does the rest of the game.
Exactly. All right, so we have some. So Devontae Parker's a nice floor. Lindsay, I think, is a decent floor. Kamara has a good ceiling. Fitzpatrick, I think, has a decent game. Goddard has a path to 2 touchdowns on 6 catches. So the next decision we got to make is I think we should try to take a value pick here to see what we can do with our next 2 picks. And since we have a flex spot available, I think we should try to see what kind of value we have at wide receiver. To try to go under our average remaining.
Yeah, no, 100%. I like Dede. I like Hunter Renfrow. Auden Tate's even not horrible because Tyler Boyd.
Is he gonna play?
Oh yeah, he's playing. Oh, I forgot.
Oh,
yeah, Tyler Boyd's playing too. For some reason, Tyler Boyd. I think showed up on the injury report for 1 day, and I thought he was out, but he's fine. So never mind. Forget Auden Tate. Yeah, because I'm shocked Auden Tate's playing.
Yeah, me too. I thought he was doubtful.
What are you looking to?
So I don't have any Josh Gordon, but he is one of the. So what I've been doing when I have to take in my lineups where I'm going with one of these value guys, where I'm looking down at this level to try to get some 2 really high upside guys, I've been taking Chris Conley a lot. Conley he's been getting consistent targets in the offense. He's playing almost every snap. He has a decent floor, and I think that he has a chance to hit value, but I do not really like that matchup at Tennessee. I think that Tennessee just, the type of games that they play, they're just kind of slow, and there's holes to be poked in Chris Conley, but I've been kind of looking his direction as we go up a little bit more. I think Corey Davis is another interesting guy to look at here as well. And then Hunter Renfrow as well, like we talked earlier, I think has been trending in the right direction. His last 4 games, week 8 and 9, 2 really great performances, caught 2 touchdowns there. But outside of the touchdowns, still 2 good games, week 10 and 11. I mean, 8 points and 11 points. That's not a bad little floor there for a guy that's 4,500 against a Jets defense that isn't that great. So I'm kind of talking myself in a Hunter Renfrow.
Yeah, I would prefer Hunter Renfrow out of those guys.
Okay.
All right, so now our average remaining is 7,400 for our wide receiver and flex.
Yeah. So if you go to the flex position, like I said, I think we've kind of mutually rolled out McCaffrey.
Yeah.
Since we have Kamara, I'm gonna probably roll out Thomas since we don't have Breeze. I just think it just kind of feels weird to have both of those guys. Nick Chubb is kind of interesting to have, considering that we're stacking Dolphins, and that doesn't really. I mean, it's kind of hard to think about a path where Chubb does well and the Dolphins do well, but I think it's plausible. And then Julio Jones, I think I'd probably rather have Jones than Nick Chubb. So, anybody on the flex spot that catches your eye?
Julio stood out to me a little bit. I'm a little worried about Nick Chubb. I do think he has a good week. Derrick Henry.
Right, so that's like a Julio down then, yeah.
And I was gonna say though, Julio or Mike Evans at 7,300, but I guess that depends who we would be going with.
I really like Mike Evans today, and I think that we can put him in at our wide receiver spot.
Okay, so you want to go with?
I'm pretty okay with that.
So Evans.
Mm-hmm.
And then 7,600 remaining. We basically can go anyone.
And if we go cheaper, we can maybe switch out Renfrow if we want to.
Yeah. Well, this is the thing. In our flex, how do you think about Derrick Henry's going to do against Jacksonville this week?
I like him. I like that matchup this week. I think Derrick Henry has been playing really, really well.
Yeah.
And I think he can absolutely go off against Jacksonville at home. I think that the Tennessee offense is competent right now, and I like the play. I honestly don't even.
Yeah. If we go Derrick Henry? No, I doubt it. I was gonna say if we go Derrick Henry, we have 700 remaining. Okay.
So the options from Renfrow with 700 extra aren't that great. I think Sterling Shepard is okay, but I really don't want to play any Steelers this week, to be honest.
Yeah.
So if we keep Renfrow and maybe just see what's. Yeah, and even at running back, even if you pivot off Phillip Lindsay, I don't think that there's anybody that I'd rather have for what we're kind of constructing here.
No. I was kind of hoping we could get Chark in here, but Chark's at 6,400. Yeah.
Yeah, that stinks.
Oof. Well,
What are you thinking?
The
only other thing that if we wanted to pivot and use our cash is potentially take Steelers, because we'd have enough to take the Steelers.
That's exactly what I was going to say. That's probably the best move here, I would think.
I think that Steelers defense is legit.
Oh, no, I don't know if you saw, not last week, but the week before, where I would have finished top 500 in the Millionaire Maker if I would have freaking put my lineup in. The Steelers D, I was like, how are they at? They're at 2,100.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I loved that.
Such an easy play.
Loved that.
All right. Oh, I like it. Fitzpatrick, Kamara, Phillip Lindsay, Devontae Parker, Hunter Renfrow, Mike Evans, Dallas Goedert, Derrick Henry, Steelers. This 100% could be a lineup that makes you a ton of money because nobody here is shocked.
Yeah, dude. There's a lot of guys that I don't think are going to be super high owned here. I
love our running back plays, and I think it's just going to come down to, how the Fitzpatrick Parker works out.
Yeah, there's a lot riding on that for sure.
But if that works out, it's hard to see a world where this doesn't.
I kind of think that this is a trap game for the Browns. I think that they're coming off that big victory against the Steelers, and honestly, they didn't look as good as like what the box score kind of made it out to be. They started off really hot, and then after that, they punted like 20 times in that game. And the Dolphins, you cannot sleep on the Dolphins. And they play hard. Their defense is trash, but offensively, man, they take shots, and they're gonna get creative. Like, they have a good coach. He's not tanking. He's not trying to lose. And I could see the Browns getting a big head, thinking like they're hot shit after that victory against the Steelers, and they had a victory the week before that too, I believe. And it just sets up, I think, for like a humbling experience for the Browns this week. And they have suspensions on the defensive side of the ball.
No, they do.
Let's not forget.
Exactly.
10-point favorites are the Browns this week.
So this lineup, if you're watching and you're wondering about DraftKings, this is 100% a tournament multiplier type of lineup. I wouldn't go into a cash play with it, because I think there's quite a few safe lineups I think I can make this week.
Yeah, not cash. Not Ryan Fitzpatrick in cash. No way.
But this lineup that we just created, it's almost like, I know this sounds weird, but the odds of us hitting that top 10 in a 10 times multiplier are pretty high. It basically rides on a couple players showing up, and it's very much either we're gonna finish 100th place or we're gonna finish top 10. Like, there's little room for in between.
Exactly, right? Like if one of these hits, like, I'm telling you, like, it's I like these. I like all these guys.
All right, I think that'll wrap it up.
Pretty good show this week. I'll give it to us. I'll pat ourselves on the back. It's nice when we don't have two degenerates on the channel.
Yeah, I'm super excited for next week. Finally getting all the games back. Is there Saturday games though next week? There's not, right?
No, because it's
Thanksgiving. Darn it! Wait, forgot about that. Never mind. Maybe we'll do a Thanksgiving show. Hunter Westbrook's gonna be in the household, as well as Tony.
What?
We can
What?
We'll have a Fantasy Boys League chat.
Dude, get Hunter on the horn. I need to talk to this guy face to face.
Hunter is a legend. I'll do another update for Fantasy Boys League. How did those trades pan out going into the final week before playoffs? It's exciting times. We got 2 more this week in 13, right? That's it, and then it's playoffs time. So it'll be fun. All right, guys. Thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Hope you learned something. As always, see you next week.